Furiosa stands as one of the most defining heroines of the Mad Max saga, a woman shaped by survival, scarred by loss, hardened by adaptation, and ultimately driven by redemption. So, let's take a look. Also like, share, and hit the bell, it will greatly help the channel. Picture a wasteland where simple values like trust and community are rare. Gasoline itself is worth more than gold, while gold is worth about as much as the rocks it's buried under. Water is a miracle, fresh food is a myth, survival isn't a lifestyle, it's a daily negotiation with death. This is the world Furiosa grows up in, a world where the desert doesn't just kill you, it erases you. For most people, mercy comes in the form of oblivion, but even in a place this broken, there are pockets of hope, tiny sparks refusing to be snuffed out. One of those sparks is the green place. To the people of the wasteland, the green place is more than a location, it's a legend, a promised land, a shimmering idea of what life could be. But for Furiosa, it wasn't a myth, it was a home, a place where the soil was alive, where water wasn't rationed, where family meant more than survival. It was a world built on hope, not fear. She wasn't born into the chaos. She was torn from peace and forced to adapt to a nightmare. That contrast, paradise to wasteland, is what shapes her into the warrior we meet later, not just a fighter, but someone who remembers what humanity should look like. Furiosa begins her story already more mature than most children her age. She knows when to stay silent around enemies, she observes before acting, and she takes only what she needs to survive. Even though we don't see much of her mother's parenting, the moment her mother says, tells us everything. Furiosa was trained to be cautious, resourceful, and self-reliant. Her mother clearly believed in hands-on lessons, tough ones, while still showing affection. Considering how capable her mother is, it makes sense that Furiosa grew into a child who is both feral and disciplined. Even in the safety of the green place, her mother never let her be naive about the outside world. Those early lessons prepared her for the horrors to come. These lessons stay with her when she's captured by dangerous strangers. She never speaks, never reveals where she came from, and shows remarkable mental strength for a child. Her mother briefly rescues her, but when her jacket catches fire, her last words, "Find your way home and protect the green place." This becomes the core of Furiosa's identity. It's not just a mission, it's a sacred duty tied to her mother's final words. Watching her mother die at the hands of Dementus shatters her innocence, infuses grief, rage, and loyalty into the emotional engine that drives her all the way into Fury Road. After this, Furiosa is forced to survive the wasteland firsthand under Dementus, the man who murdered her mother, yet becomes a twisted father figure too. Early on, he doesn't treat her like a typical prisoner, and even prevents others from harming her. The mouth guard hints that she was feral enough to bite. An older man eventually gives her the most important advice she'll ever receive: make yourself invaluable. This becomes her survival strategy, not just with Dementus, but everywhere she goes. It also shows that despite her trauma, she's still a child who can recognize honesty and learn from adults who aren't trying to manipulate her. Dementus' own line, "We have to adapt," becomes ironic because Furiosa adapts far better than he ever will. Her chance to escape comes when Immortal Joe offers to take her as one of his wives. Dementus tries to claim she's his daughter, but Furiosa seizes the moment. She exposes him, revealing that he killed her mother and forced her to watch. Dementus has no choice but to give her up. Seeing the wives up close teaches her another brutal lesson. In this world, women are valued only for survival and reproduction. The disgust she feels strengthens her resolve to never be owned and never be used. When a man plays with her hair, she cuts it off, symbolically shedding vulnerability, and uses the distraction to escape and hide. Running, climbing, and improvising are skills she likely learned from her mother and the green place. Her adaptability becomes even clearer when she disguises herself as a boy. This lets her remain useful and unnoticed. She earns a position as Gorman by using the practical skills she learned in childhood. and for a while she successfully passes as a mute, obedient worker. She isn't adapting by embracing violence like Dementis. She's adapting by becoming efficient, strategic, and indispensable. While transporting cargo with a man named Jack, he eventually discovers her secret. After most of his crew is killed, he decides to rebuild, and he wants to start with her. He recognizes her sharp vision, tactical awareness, emotional control, and a deliberate savagery. That savagery could come from her trauma under Dementis, the brutality of Gastown, or the survival instincts of the Green Place. Most likely it's all three. Jack offers to train her in road war, combat strategy, and mechanics. His mentorship becomes essential to navigate the wasteland on her own terms and ultimately continue her mission, finding her way home and honoring her mother's final wish. Over the years, Furiosa becomes Jack's right-hand partner. He trains her in everything the road demands: marksmanship, vehicle handling, and the mechanics of war rigs. But even with all this, the trauma of her childhood lingers. We see her sleeping with a weapon in hand, jolting awake from a nightmare and nearly stabbing someone. The message is clear: she never truly feels safe. Jack stops her gently without a word, and she immediately settles. This small moment shows how in sync they become. It also suggests that this isn't the first time he's calmed her through an episode like this. Their bond is built on trust, silence, and mutual understanding. This connection deepens when she finally reveals the map she's been drawing on her arm, her secret plan to find her way home. Throughout the film, she watches the stars, guided by the blessing of her people. May the stars be with you. At first, she hides this from Jack, but he opens up about his own past. His parents were soldiers who still believed in heroism and justice, even in a dying world. His story resonates with her, and this plants a seed inside her. Maybe she, too, could become something heroic. Moved by his honesty, she shows him the seed she's been carrying since childhood, and gives him her tribe's headbutt, a gesture that officially welcomes him as one of her own. But their bond is short-lived. During a job, Dementis ambushes them. They fight fiercely, but they're overwhelmed. Furiosa's arm is crushed in the chaos, and Dementis ties her to a truck while Jack is dragged behind motorcycles, killing him in the process. However, the dust from the motorcycles allows Furiosa to escape. She cuts off her arm and rides away. At this point, her transformation is complete. She has lost everything: her mother, her innocence, her father figure, and now the arm that carried her map home. What remains is vengeance. She becomes something new. When she learns Dementis' plan to lure Immortan Joe away from the Citadel by staging a trap at Gastown, she warns him. Her warning allows him to flip the ambush and strike first. But Furiosa has her own goal. She vows to kill Dementis herself. She receives her mechanical arm, adopts the iconic look we recognize from Fury Road, and is named the Fifth Rider of the Apocalypse. She hunts Dementis relentlessly, killing most of his men until she finally corners him. Furiosa is ready to end the man who destroyed her life, but Dementis is strangely calm. He tells her she will feel the kill more than he will. He won't even hear the gunshot. When he realizes she's the girl he once kidnapped, he tries to twist the moment. He claims they are the same. His family was taken from him, and vengeance only deepened his pain. He insists she's walking the same path. He says,
"We are the already dead, little D."
Furiosa has killed before. She's not above violence, but she refuses to become him. Throughout the film, she's been walking a razor's edge between survival and corruption, and in this moment, she chooses not to fall. It echoes Max's warning from the original film: stay out in the wasteland too long and you become one of the monsters. Instead of repeating Dementis' cycle of destruction, she chooses creation. She plants a tree on his body, she takes the peach, and she takes Immortan Joe's wives. Symbolically, she chooses rebirth over ruin. The peach and the wives represent the possibility of bringing life back into a world that has forgotten it. One day, humanity might plant green again and raise children without turning them into warriors for tyrants. Furiosa becomes the guide towards that future. When we first see Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road, she's already in a position of enormous importance. She's driving the war rig, one of the most critical responsibilities Immortan Joe can assign. Joe is treated like a king, and anyone trusted with his most valuable vehicle must be indispensable. The fact that Furiosa holds this job shows how respected, feared, and relied upon she already is. That becomes even clearer when she suddenly changes course and heads east. The men riding with her question her only once, and she answers bluntly, they're going east. They don't argue, they simply follow. This moment shows how deeply she internalized the lessons from her past, become invaluable. Even though that advice was originally meant for Dementus, she applies it here. Her survival, her ability to earn trust, and her reputation for competence all allow her to slip away with Joe's wives without raising any suspicion. She has built a level of authority so strong that even the men she's deceiving obey her without hesitation. As the story continues, we see her skill and determination. She drives the war rig straight into a massive storm filled with lightning, refusing to stop. Instead of slowing her down, the storm becomes a weapon. She uses it to shake Joe's forces off her trail. When Max later tries to threaten her with a gun, she immediately turns the situation around, attacking him while one of the wives works to cut his chain. And when Max attempts to steal the rig, it shuts down on him. Furiosa calmly explains that it has a kill switch. You also see her leadership with the wives. She's direct, efficient, and protective. When she regains control of the rig, Max discovers the entire front is packed with hidden weapons. Even the gear shift is a blade. All of this shows how meticulously prepared she is. The horrors she experienced earlier in life taught her how unpredictable and dangerous the wasteland can be. She plans for every possibility. Someone trying to steal the rig, running out of ammo, losing a weapon. Her preparation makes her efficient, professional, and formidable. And beneath all of this is her desperation. She cannot afford anything to go wrong. Her motivation is redemption. As a child, she was kinder, more hopeful, but after losing her mother and being taken captive, she was forced to help violent people and do terrible things to survive. She never sank to Dementus's level, but even coming close feels like a betrayal of the person she once was, and the person her mother wanted her to be. Simply going home isn't enough. She needs to do something heroic to cleanse her conscience. When she learns the green place is gone, it's the only time her stoic exterior truly cracks. The green place was her last connection to her old life, her mother, and her childhood hope. When she realizes it's dead, she breaks down. From that point on, the only thing she has left is her mission and the need to give the wives a future. Before discussing her ending, it's worth looking at her dynamic with Max. Their relationship starts violently. Max tries to steal the rig and threatens her with a gun, but once the kill switch stops him, they quickly fall into sync. She warns him that waiting for Joe won't end well, offers to help remove his mask, and lets him search the rig for weapons. She even gives him a clear escape route once they reach the canyon. After one of the wives appears to die, Furiosa doesn't argue or panic. She simply says they have to keep moving. She also reads Max well. When he returns covered in blood, she instantly knows it isn't his. Furiosa doesn't trust easily, but she understands Max's instincts, his trauma, and his survival logic. They recognize each other as people shaped by the same brutal world. This mutual understanding allows her to keep him from interfering with her mission and eventually turn him into an ally. Max, in turn, respects her judgment because he knows she's learned the same hard lessons he has. When Furiosa insists on continuing east to find hope, Max tells her that hope is dead. Given his past, it makes sense, but her persistence pushes him to think differently. He proposes return to the Citadel, the one place with water, crops, and a real chance at rebuilding. He tells her that beyond the salt flats, there's nothing. She trusts his judgment even though she knows the plan will cost lives. Her redemption depends on saving these women, but they could be in danger. In the final chase, she fights through severe injuries and ultimately kills Immortan Joe, even at the cost of her arm. Max saves her life, and in a rare moment of vulnerability, he tells her his name, a profound gesture of trust. When she returns to the Citadel with Joe's corpse, the people cheer. Their respect for her isn't based on fear, but on genuine admiration. She becomes a liberator. Max quietly slips away, going their separate ways. So who was Furiosa? She was the fifth rider of the apocalypse, a survivor forged in darkness, forced to adapt to horrors no child should endure. But through the advice she carried and the moral code she refused to abandon, and her relentless drive, she never lost sight of who she wanted to be. She adapted, but she never became the monsters around her. In the end, she didn't just find her way home, she created the possibility of a better world by saving the wives and giving future generations a chance. Thanks for watching.